Welcome to Postpartum Unfiltered.
The podcast where we get real about what happens during the postpartum period.
I am Jillian,
And I'm Sara.
and we are two doctor moms who are not prepared for what postpartum would bring.
By sharing your stories, we hope to spread awareness and allow other families to be more prepared for the time after birth.
Hello and welcome. Today we are here with Sara. And Sara, can you take a minute and just kind of introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, so like she already mentioned, my name is Sara. During the day, I'm a doctor, but I'm also a mother of two. And I think like what I want to discuss today is even being like in the healthcare field, there were things that weren't really discussed with me or that I wasn't aware of until I actually went through it. And what I want to do, and hopefully through this, is kind of pave the way for other people so they don't kind of feel the same way I did, I guess, kind of lonely in that feeling or isolated in that feeling.
Yeah, love that. Okay. And so is there anything about your first pregnancy and birth that you feel you'd like to share to kind of explain or like that ties into your postpartum journey?
So I think I think when you have your first kid, I think everything's really focused on like, well, of course, you're obviously happy with your first one. Like for me, it was like, okay, let's the baby shower. Okay, the gifts. Okay, oh my gosh, it's a baby's coming. But nobody really talks to you about like the other aspect. I think one thing that everyone told me, including my own mom, was like, oh, when the baby's born, like you're gonna feel love instantly and everything's great. So they kind of paint this picture of like a sort of euphoria, and it's really not like that at all. So I think that yeah, definitely that's probably where I would start with all of that because I remember when my son was born, I didn't feel like that instant connection, and I was like, oh my gosh, am I like a sociopath? Like, what's wrong with me? Why do why don't
Sociopath.
I like love this kid 100%? Why don't I feel those butterflies? Why don't I do all that? And I felt
Yeah.
instant anxiety, and I didn't understand where that was coming from. Like
Yeah.
they have all these like funny like memes where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go down the stairs and trip and fall. My baby's gonna be in my arm and crash at the end of the stairs. And it's like, yeah, it's exactly what happens. You start thinking about everything. And when my son was born, they take them for that heel test, and they're like, oh, you
Yeah.
have a couple hours to sleep for yourself. Like I was like, no. I walked down there. I was the only mom sitting in there, like watching them do this heel test because I didn't want them to drop him. Like, how crazy is that idea? But I didn't
Oh,
understand.
that's so interesting. My my son was in the room with me the whole time. Like
Oh yeah, they took mine
they brought
away.
people in. Oh.
Oh, I would have liked that actually. No, they took him
Did,
away. And my husband's like, this is great. We get a couple hours. I was like, no, they're gonna drop him.
this
He's like,
is
what?
terrible.
He's like, Sarah, just let us sleep. I was like,
And
it
then
seems
he's
like
like,
you've
"Are
done
you
a
a
lot.
sociopath?"
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't know what was happening to me until I left before I left the hospital. They're like, can you do this like quick questionnaire? And I'm like, okay. So I did the questionnaire. They're like, we can't let you leave yet. And I'm like, excuse me? Until they brought a social worker in to talk to me.
Yeah.
And they were like, what's going on with you? And I was like, I don't know. I feel all these things. They're like, are you okay to go home? Do you feel like, I'm like, what is happening? Like I
Yeah.
didn't realize like it's something that's not supposed, I guess it happens, but I don't know. I don't know. I was really shocked, I think.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't. And so nobody told you that, like, after giving birth, that you would have like either the questionnaire or even like a check-in with a social worker at all.
Right. No, nobody.
Oh, wow. And then when you were pregnant and going for all your appointments, what did they, if anything, tell you of what to expect postpartum?
Nothing.
Did they talk to you about like even breastfeeding or anything?
No.
Oh boy. Yeah. I'm so my
Oh
like
boy.
well, that's
This
what
is gonna be a lot of episodes. Hold
yeah.
on.
Yeah. We got to unpack some stuff. But that's how I felt too. So like because I remember the only things they told me the first time about postpartum was, do you plan to breastfeed? I said yes. They said, oh, good, we support breastfeeding. And I thought, oh, great, they support breastfeeding. Woo. And they said at 6 weeks after giving birth, you'll have a follow-up. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I even remember like hours later being home thinking, what does we support breastfeeding even mean?
Yeah. What are you gonna do after 6 weeks if I feel like this for 6 weeks? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, what am I? Okay.
Yeah. And so, was it any different like in the hospital those first few days? Like a lot of people have that surge of oxytocin from giving birth, and some feel like differently then than they do after they get home after a week or so. Did you have any change in how you were feeling
I
when
think
you?
when I got home, it was worse. But I also think for me, the reason it got worse is my husband has a really big family. And
Mm.
and I didn't know to set boundaries. So we had people in and out of our house for about 6 weeks almost.
Oh, wow. Were they staying with you?
No, they were just randomly just coming, they would just come over and I didn't, that's the thing. Like, I wish, like, I don't know, I wish that I had known. But then again, it's like, I guess even if you tell someone, like, how much do they really know till they go through it? I don't know. It was just a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. And I know the second time around, like, I felt more prepared with, like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I don't want. This is what didn't work for me. Um, yeah, but the first time I had no idea. And I was so overwhelmed. And everyone's like, picking up the baby. And I remember being like, nobody can pick him up. Like, everybody stopped picking him up.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and I'm sure with family it can be difficult to set and keep those boundaries, because what I find with family is they feel like they have a vested interest, right? Like it's their relative too, so their opinion is important. And I think a lot of times that can be too pushy on a new
yes,
mother.
it can be. And you're in a vulnerable state where, like, you don't know how to speak up for yourself. Your partner doesn't really know what's going on with you. They kind of feel stuck in the middle because it's also their family and they don't want to offend them, but they also want to keep you happy. And it's a new, I think it's a new thing, a role for everybody,
Yeah,
not just the
and not to
mom.
mention you're not sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And you're trying to breastfeed. You're like, for me, it was like, I couldn't, like, I was so stressed. I don't think I produced enough because of the stress and anxiety that I was feeling.
yeah, and I think that's something we don't talk about either, that we talk about how like hydration and nutrition can impact lactation or
Right.
production, but not just stress. And and like we have a huge physical stress in giving birth. Well, I mean
Right.
pregnancy and giving birth. And
Right.
then afterwards you're not sleeping. Everyone's in your house. Everyone wants to tell you what to do with your baby. They take
Right.
your baby away to do the heel thing. You don't know what's going on with him.
They could drop him. So I
It's
have
just
to
like,
be
yeah,
there.
they're definitely going to drop him.
Yeah. So I think it's all those things together. And I think it took me almost 6 months to kind of get out of it. So
And
that,
and you were predominated by anxiety.
yeah.
Did you have any like depression or other mood symptoms?
No, just the anxiety. I think it was just the anxiety that something was, yeah, just the anxiety, the fear of something always going wrong, I
Did
think.
you have any intrusive thoughts?
No, no, that's a lie. I probably did. Yeah, I think at some point I did. I'm like, wait, let me think. Not towards him, but I think, like, for myself. Like, I think I thought, like, if I'm, like, not here, like, would it really matter? Like, everyone's just doing their own thing. No one's really paying attention to me. Like, I'm just here, just kind of sitting.
Hmm.
Like, if I wasn't here, would it matter?
Yeah.
I think that's the worst it's ever gotten. And then when I told my husband that, I think he was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I
She
need
is a
to step it
sociopath.
up. Something is
Yeah,
happening.
something's happening.
Because you can feel that way, I think, with the
Yeah.
babies, when everyone's like, "Oh, baby, like baby, baby," and everyone's like, "Oh, well, like, we want to come and see the baby. Like, we want to do this, or we want." And it's just like, I'm just here.
Yeah. I think
No
I
one asks me. I think my mom is the
yeah.
only one that ever asked me how I'm doing, and one cousin actually
Uh,
sat me down and was like, "Listen, literally, are you okay? Like, what do you
yeah.
actually need?"
Yeah. And I think that's I totally agree. That is something I did not expect, because no one has ever been nicer to me than when I was pregnant that first time. It was always like, oh, let me help you with this. Oh, how are you feeling? Are you comfortable? And
Right.
then I had the baby and it was like, how's the baby? Send me a picture of the baby. What's the baby doing? And I was like, oh, yeah, hi. I'm also here. But
Yeah, but,
oh,
like, no one really thinks about
no one
you. Like,
cares.
oh, yeah, no one
I
cares.
don't
That's the
care.
thing. Nobody cares. And yeah, I think my mom was, of course she's my mom. She's gonna be like, but everyone else kind of just went in and out. And only one cousin of mine, I'll still remember to this day, like, I was like 3 months. And she's like, "Hey,
Mhm.
how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm doing great." She's like, "No. Like, how are you really? Like, are
Right.
you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." I was like, "Nobody's ever asked me that." She's like, "Oh, I only know because that's how it was for me."
Yeah.
So I realized, like, in some way, anyone who's pregnant, like, I don't like to, like, be I am a Debbie Downer, whatever. Anyone who's pregnant, I'm like, hey, listen, it's going to be really horrible afterwards. If you feel overwhelmed, please call me and talk to me about it. I don't want you to feel like you're alone because it's not it's a common thing to happen and it's okay. And you need to talk to somebody about it.
Yeah. So what did you do when you were going through this anxiety like spell to deal with it and manage that?
Oh, I did not. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't. Not very good. I mean, I think I took it on my husband a lot, I'll be honest. And he took a
Yeah.
lot of it. And I think going back to work helped distract, for me at least, a little bit of everything else going on.
Hmm.
Um, but I think yeah, I think going to work at least helped me and a better understanding from my partner. So I think that when he helped me lay down boundaries and he supported me through those boundaries, I think that really helped decrease my anxiety.
And you didn't have anxiety about returning to work and leaving your son with somebody?
Oh, I had cameras everywhere in my house. So I was watching my phone the entire time.
Uh, and when did you go back to work?
Um, After 10 weeks.
10 weeks. Okay. And did you feel like physically healed and ready?
No, I think I was like, I was unhappy with the way that I felt. And I think I was unhappy with the way that I looked. And if
Hmm.
I had a little bit, maybe more time to kind of get back to myself would have been nice.
Yeah. Did you have any experience like losing your identity
Oh, yeah.
as yourself when you
Oh,
had
big
him?
time. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I definitely lost my identity. And I think that's one thing I did with my second one was to make sure that I did things for myself to keep myself. I didn't want to just be Aiden's mom and that was it. I'm also Sarah. And I think I
Hmm.
lost that the first time. So the second time I made sure like go out to dinner with your friends, like without kids, without your husband, just you, go for a
Hmm.
cup of coffee, like things I never did before,
Yeah.
you
And did
know?
you feel like so you didn't do that at all the first time?
I did not.
And how long did you have anxiety after giving birth?
Almost up to 6 months, I would say.
Okay.
Almost.
And then was there anything that you thought like changed it? Like what?
I did a little bit of therapy.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah. So I did do therapy. Finding a really good therapist is hard.
Yeah.
I've heard it's like dating. So I heard like you have to find him just like to find your husband. So that I mean, I think therapy helped. I think
Yeah.
my friends had to push me to do it because I feel like in the culture I grew up in, it's a lot of like a taboo to do
Hmm.
therapy.
Yeah.
But it's very helpful.
Yeah. And then how long do you feel like it took for you to feel like comfortable and kind of like the stress was coming down and you didn't need to have all these cameras on your baby all the time?
Oh, girl, I still do. I'm just kidding. I would say maybe like a year. I felt like at a year, I definitely was like, okay, I'm feeling more like myself. I'm looking more like myself. I'm feeling more like myself. But also, COVID happened. So I got to just be with my baby and I didn't need to talk to anybody else. And I think that also helped. I mean, COVID was a horrible time, but the benefit to it was the time I lost during maternity leave, I got back because my office had closed. So we
Mhm.
weren't seeing patients, we weren't doing anything. So I got time to just be with him that I missed during maternity leave.
Yeah. And then how long do you think it took before you started to feel that like connection and that love and bond with him?
That's a good, I've never had anyone someone ask me that. I don't, I would, don't judge me. Maybe
Hmm.
close to two. I would say close to 2 years old. I would say close to 2 years old.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, where I felt like that unconditional, like what they told me would happen when he was born. I think, yeah, close to 2 years old.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of, it's somebody, I talked to somebody else who was saying like, newborns are boring. And I was like, yeah, nobody talks about that either. Like you're just supposed to
Yes,
be home.
yes.
You're sitting there, you're like sore, your body hurts. You just like if you're breastfeeding, it can be all consuming, especially
Yeah.
the first time to just like thinking about breastfeeding. Am I making enough? Like are my breasts supposed to feel this way? Whatever. And then your baby just sits there no feedback.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Exactly. I heard people say, I just want to go back to work just to have like adult conversations because I'm literally just sitting at home all day doing. But you know what? I have to ask. So, first and second, I think the post-op that I had was completely different too. Like the care for it. The first time they were like, okay, just use like this Perry bottle. And the second time they were like, use this like tub thing you sit in. So I was
oh,
like,
like a
that
sitz
was
bath.
interesting. Yeah. I was like, that was
Yeah.
interesting. Like I never, so that I did not do that. I was like, I'm gonna
I
stick
tr-
to
I tried. It didn't fit in my toilet right. So I was like, well, I'd give up. That was too much work.
yeah, I was like, they're like, you fill this up and this is, I was like, what the heck is all of this stuff? No, no, no. This.
It's a no for me.
Yeah, I was like, my toddler's gonna see this and start like peeing in it. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
not
Have you met children? They're a disaster.
like, this is not happening, sister. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. And like both times I gave birth, I had like nursing students in there. So that was like
Mm.
always, that was also a very interesting experience.
Yeah, to have the gallery watching.
Yeah. And like, it's like, they were like, are you okay with nursing students in here? I was like, of course I'm okay with that. I want everybody to learn. But I didn't know they were like hands deep in this stuff.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, like it was great. I remember I was pushing my husband's on one side, the nursing students on the other side. And
Hmm.
she's like, you can do it, Sarah. Push as hard as you can. And I remember I saw her name tag. I was like, Olga, I don't know you. Do not tell me what to do.
Who even are you? You've
And
been
then
here
when
this
my
whole
son was
time?
born, she started crying. And I was like,
What?
this is the most uncomfortable
Olga, so
situation I've ever been
invested.
in. So the second time, they're like, is it okay? I was like, no, I would like nursing students in here.
Please, do you even have to be in here? I don't, I
Like,
don't want
I don't
that.
want Olga crying in here, okay?
Yeah,
Very awkward
yeah. Olga
experience.
graduated, right? We're not going to do this again.
Olga's not coming back, right? Because
Yeah,
pass her at this point. Just pass her.
yeah. Oh my God, that is hilarious. Is it bringing that, it brings me back to my memories, especially the first time. There was not a lot of explanation, like for any of the stuff they were doing to me.
Agreed.
So it was just like, we're gonna go wrist deep in here right now. We're gonna pull your gown
Check.
down and grab your nipples and don't worry about it. Like, and,
Exactly.
and I'm like, this is not an emergency.
Well, you know what else I learned too is that so I got the epidural and it did not work for me.
Ugh.
So I felt everything. So I called my cousin and she was like, she's an anesthesiologist. And I called her and I was like, listen, like, what did I get like a student or something as well for an anesthesiologist? Like, what's
Mhm.
happening? And she's like, no, sometimes it's patchy and there's like 1 to 2% of people it doesn't work for. Like, I never knew that. Like, if I had known that, I probably like,
Cool, 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 cool. Yeah, that sounds terrible. I mean, mine also stopped working both times, but they came up with some fixes.
oh, they did?
Yeah, well, the first time they ended up having to take it out and put it back in. And the second time they just kept dosing me. And I remember thinking, you guys like know how much I weigh, right? Like I'm not gonna overdose on whatever you got going through there
Yeah.
because
See, I didn't know
you
that
keep coming
stuff.
back and all you're doing is giving me, they just kept saying, we'll do another bolus. And I was like, that doesn't sound great.
Yeah, and I kept hitting the dispenser. Like I just kept hitting it, kept hitting it. They're like, "Oh yeah, you've timed out." I was like, "Okay, nothing's happening. Either it's
Yeah.
not in my back at all, or
Yeah. It's
like
not
what is going
okay.
on?"
We're not okay.
We're not.
It's not okay.
Yeah, I did not. That see, I didn't know that either. I always thought, okay, get the epidural, you're fine, it works, it's great. Like everything, I feel like there has to be more information, and we have to be given more information on things that don't work or the bad side of everything. They just I don't know. I feel like I was fed like everything positive and nothing of reality. That's what I feel.
Yeah. There's somewhere in there to find the balance between discussing like a real spectrum of what you can or may experience without it being total fear mongering or total like glossing over any challenges. Because
Right.
and I feel like it becomes very dismissive, which then makes it harder, I think, to talk to people or ask for help too, because you'll make a comment like, I feel this way. And somebody be like, oh yeah, but look at how cute your baby is. And you're like, okay, yeah,
Well, what I
that's
do Like I'd be like, I feel really like down. I feel like really anxious. And what I got is, well, I had kids. I never felt that way. Well, that's just
Oh, good.
that's your generation. Our generation isn't really like that. Like, or we're stronger. And it's like, what is, I don't understand what that means. Like, you probably still have it and don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, you've never, like, you've never gotten the help that you needed for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was something that was kind of like, I think pretty hurtful, was just like, oh, well, I don't know what you're talking about. We had kids. We struggled more than you did. We didn't have that. So I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, it's not really a luxury thing for this to happen. It kind of sucks. But it's
Yeah.
nice that we can talk about it now. Like maybe you should also talk about your experience. Because clearly something
Like,
probably happened to you as well that you don't want to talk about.
yeah. No, almost definitely. I mean, if we could get more people into therapy to actually deal with their issues, maybe we could
Therapy
change the
is
world.
Yeah, therapy is so helpful. I mean, there's like these apps you can use if you can't go in, to places to see people. And BetterHelp is one that I like
Yeah.
used, and you have to do those things for yourself. You have
Yeah. And I mean, I think like this is why I like talking to women about their experiences because like maybe somebody was feeling isolated or alone and now they can say, oh, okay, somebody else was doing this. Like I'm not that sociopath. It's okay. It's one of the things that can happen. But
right,
also for people who don't know to say, oh, I really shouldn't just dismiss whatever experience my friend is having. I don't like there's no need to try to make it better, right? Like it's okay to sit in the uncomfortable feelings,
right.
especially with somebody that you care about and just say, hey, I know this sucks for you. Even if I don't understand it, like I'm here and I think it's great that you feel like you can talk to me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's what, yeah. I mean, who is that that just came out the article a couple months ago, that doctor in New York? Did you see the one? She had like
No.
suicide. She had a 4-month old. She was like a cancer research doctor, and she killed the infant and herself.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, okay, well, she's also in the healthcare, right? Like she should have been able to talk to somebody. Like somebody should have caught on to something for her.
Yeah.
And it's like, end of the day, we're all, no matter where we need, I don't know, how do we, I guess things like this, like podcasts and things, are like helpful for people to somewhere feel like they're not alone. And it's like awesome that you're doing this.
You're so cute. You're so good to me.
But it's
Uh,
true. It's true. People need to hear that they're not alone in their feelings. I
yeah.
mean, I've seen like people in my own family, my own cousins go through it, and I didn't have kids at the time, so I had no idea what was happening to them.
Right.
And when I went through it, they were like, "Oh yeah, this is how I felt. This is what I did." Like it's like, "Oh my gosh, if we just had like this on a more of a mainstream like, knowledge base, it would be so much more helpful to so many people."
Yeah, for sure.
But it's very common to happen to all of us. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's very few people that can just say, oh, it was all smooth sailing, no issues, no bumps in the road postpartum.
Oh yeah, except the people that were telling me that.
They're lying, obviously.
They're like, "What are you talking about? We never
Yeah.
had this in our time." I'm
Yeah.
like, "I didn't
Time.
just invent it.
Yeah.
You just show up with it."
Yeah. It's all you, Sarah. Don't worry about it. It's just
Yeah,
in
yeah.
your mind.
You weakling. Sit down.
All right. Is there anything else about this first postpartum journey that you'd like to share?
No, I think we covered it all pretty much. I think the only thing I would say, like as a summary, is one, definitely put boundaries, talk to your partner, be on the same page if you can. Support is so important, and don't ever feel like, you know, bad about going to therapy. I mean, therapy is totally, that's okay. It's just like medicine. Like anything else, you need to treat yourself. Just do it. I think those
Yeah.
are things if I could talk to myself, that's what I would tell myself during that time.
Love it. That's beautiful. All right. We'll leave it here. And then Sarah will pick up next time with your second postpartum experience.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to Postpartum Unfiltered.
If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, comment, or leave a review.
You can follow us on Instagram at postpartum.unfiltered.
If you feel called to share your postpartum experience, please contact us on Instagram or at drjilliancampbell.com.